Hi, my name is Jasania, and today I want to talk about abstinence. Firstly, just want to say I am a social worker and an associate counseling psychologist. I also have an associate degree in theology. So, my frame of reference is psychological, social, and spiritual. So, abstinence. What is abstinence? It is voluntarily choosing not to engage in a particular activity. It could be abstaining from alcohol use, it could be abstaining from sexual practices, or anything else. But for the purpose of today's video, we'll be looking at abstinence from sex. So, why would somebody want to do that other than being a Christian and wanting to please God? Is there any other benefit to abstinence? Sure. Persons who abstain, and especially when they're in school, tend to focus better and get better academical outcomes. Also, abstinence can promote good self-esteem and self-respect. Sometimes when persons are sexually active, especially when they're immature, the relationships do not tend to last and they go from one relationship to the other. They can heap up onto themselves a lot of hurt and rejection, bitterness, and so forth. So abstaining is a plus for your self-respect, you being able to appreciate and understand yourself without being abused by others. Abstinence also is a discipline, and if you can be disciplined in the area of your sexual behaviors, you can be disciplined anywhere else. So these are just some benefits of abstinence. Now, for the spiritual part, you are a Christian, maybe you just got baptized, or you're in it for a short time, or you're in it for a long time. You're single and you want to abstain. It is very, very important to know what the Bible teaches on abstinence. There are many, many scriptures, especially in the New Testament, on abstinence. In 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 3, it is the will of God that we would abstain from adultery and lust, and we will be sanctified and know how to possess our vessels with honor. In 1 Corinthians 6, verse 18, it says that we must flee from fornication, because all of the things that we commit is outside of the body, but that one is against our very own body. In Colossians 3, verse 5, we are to mortify adultery, fornication, uncleanness, among other things. And the word mortify means to put to death. Galatians 5, verse 19, the works of the flesh are manifest. So it's adultery, fornication, uncleanness. There they go again. Those three in the same order. There's something about those things that's very damaging to us physically and spiritually, and we need to be aware of that. 1 Peter 2, verse 11, that we should abstain from fleshly lusts. No, okay, this is what the Bible says. How do you do it? Oh, I'm glad you asked. The main thing for abstinence is boundaries. You know it's the will of God. You know these scriptures. You've taken them on the inside. You rehearse them. You know them by heart. Great. The next thing you must do is set up some firm boundaries in your life. So nobody needs to know where you live. Nobody needs to come to your house. You don't have to go to anybody else's house unless it's your grandma, your uncle. You know, you don't have to have your friends come over. And you certainly don't have to have a boyfriend or girlfriend come over. That's a red flag. Be mindful of the conversations that you have. It's great to enjoy good humor and conversations, but when the conversation is reaching a limit where you're becoming aroused or you feel uncomfortable about the content of the conversation, it's quite okay to change the nature of the conversation or just walk away from it. Excuse yourself. Find a good excuse. Oh, I'm really busy. I have something to do right now. Or you can be direct if you're a direct person and say, I'm not comfortable with the way that this conversation is going. Right? The next thing is be mindful of how you allow persons to interact with your body. Just to tell you a story, I was somebody who was very swift at clapping off people's hands. I would go out on dates, often clapping off guys' hands and say, hey, don't touch me like that, which often caused embarrassment and challenges. But I had to do that for my own protection and because I intended to keep myself pure and unspotted from sexual immorality. So it helped, it worked. I abstained until marriage, although I wasn't pleased with everything that I had done. If I had to live my life over, I would have also abstained from French kissing. I don't think it's innocent. It looks innocent, but it's not. And I would have chosen not to do that until I got married. But it's up to you. I do believe that we must decide what is holy and what is not holy. The Bible gives us a lot of good indication of what is holy and what's not holy. Notice in the scriptures, it doesn't just say abstain from fornication, but it says abstain from uncleanness. What is this uncleanness? So it could be that you're abstaining from the physical act of having sex, but there are some things that are unclean that's happening. Like you might be watching a lot of shows with people taking off their clothes and stuff, or you're listening to songs that have very heavy sexual content, or you are watching pornography or masturbating or doing something else. These would all be painted by the broad brush of uncleanness. So get rid of those stuff as best as possible. And also bear in mind that we are physical, so we do have physical reactions. Some of the best way to deal with those physical reactions is to be physically engaged. Exercise, play a sport, take up dancing, take up a hobby, get yourself engaged physically to relieve tension and to keep yourself healthy and active. These are some things that you can do in terms of, on the offensive. So instead of just defending and avoiding and putting away certain things, on the offensive now you can get involved in physical stuff, play football, netball, dancing, and get yourself engaged, and release some of the tension that you might experience from time to time. But being pure, being around people who are committed to being pure and having boundaries is definitely the way to go if you want to abstain. Also, first and foremost, commit yourself to God, commit your body to God, anoint yourself with oil, pray, trust God, read His Word, understand what His Word says about purity, and just do it. Thank you for listening. It was my pleasure having you. Tune in again for more insightful topics and interesting words to uplift.